Republican Texas Representative Bryan Slaton has filed a very important piece of legislation in the state. He's filed it already. It aims to, quote, ban drag shows in the presence of minors in Texas, end quote. Last week, Mama Ru appeared on the Late Late Show and brought up the bill with host James Cordon, saying, quote, it's a diversion tactic to take the narrative away from the gun debate, like Uvalde, I'm putting those words in, into something else, to scare people into thinking about something else. And they've been successful. They have changed the narrative away from the gun debate into this drag queen thing. Y'all want to help your kids? Take away them guns. That will help your kids. Drag queens ain't hurt nobody. You're born naked, and the rest is drag. Everybody's in drag. Child, please. End quote. Our hot topic headline of the week: RuPaul on queer culture war, then drags Texas and Florida's governors on banning kids from drag shows. What do y'all think?
Oh, and that's exactly what it is, right? Because you have, Republicans, they have two brain cells collectively that they all just rub together and they think of the exact same ideas. So within a week of Texas doing this, Anthony Sabatini was like, that sounds like a great idea. I'm going to pretend that I thought of that. And then what he did is he retweeted Pride on the Block, which had a shooting threat. But, do they want to ban guns? No, they want to ban bringing kids to drag shows, which is absolutely ridiculous.
So here's my question. If GOP legislators want to institute, policies like this, where are the LGBTQ plus legislators to institute policies against Hooters?
There aren't any.
And these child pageants and, child molestation that actually happens in, across the country. Where's that legislation that's actually...
And I understand the context of the question and the absurdity of what you would get to for the answer. But let me ask it back to you in a different way. Is it because banning Hooters, while we think Hooters is distasteful to women, they still have a right to do it? Or whatever the fill in the blank is, the reason there isn't the counterbalance is because we're just not that ignorant.
No, the counterbalance is to address the absurdity of it, because children aren't getting hurt. Drag queens are literally reading books to kids across the country, not going into schools and shooting up kids. Well, and I think that's the difference.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, everybody's so used to, this world is so used to pushing down women that if it's against women, it's something that we're so used to that it's okay, it's just the women. You know what I mean? Like,
I want to make sure that I accentuate this soundbite that I just heard. You also view this attack on drag queens as an attack on women.
It is, yeah, because, a lot of drag queens are also trans women.
Yeah.
Okay, and it's just one of those things where, yeah, we're not going to, the women, it's okay. We can continue to marginalize them. We can continue to treat them as second-class citizens. And that has been how it is for eons. And it's just another notch on that belt, that it's okay to always make women inferior, including drag queens.
You know what I find ridiculous, though, is why did we decide that a dress and makeup and a wig is sexual, right? Because there's nothing sexual about a dress and a wig and some makeup, right? It's the fact that it's a man wearing it. And those are those are articles of clothing. Oftentimes, especially at like child-oriented drag events, like it's not like they're dressed like they're at a strip club or something.
No, and again, but at Hooters, when it's a little boy's birthday, they take 2 balloons and they put them as boobs underneath the boy's shirt. They put him up on the table and they all dance around them and all the girls rub their boobs around him.
And that's okay.
And that's okay to a little 8-9-year-old kid?
And to your point, historically, there have been many famous openly straight entertainers that have gotten into drag at different times in television shows, movies. Flip Wilson, Jack Lemmon, famously wins an Academy Award for it.
John Travolta, Eddie Murphy.
Right.
These are A-list actors too.
And
Tyler Perry.
And no one looked at that moment and go, oh, this is sex.
Kids
This
can't
is
watch
sexual.
this. Kids can't watch
Because
Medea.
therefore,
No,
we
and it's
never
and it's
crossed our
ridiculous.
mind.
You know, you have drag performers in these drag story times that are dressed up as like Disney princesses. If you had like a cisgender woman dressed up as a Disney princess reading a story to a kid, that's totally cool. That's totally chill. But the fact that it's a a cis man that does drag or a trans woman that's dressed up as
and the point that I was making in terms of all of these A-list actors that have performed this in television or in movies, and it was never considered sexual, then you look at those moments and go, wait, what's different? Why is this different? And the only conclusion that you would come to is it's the people saying it's different. And that is the indication of how they're gaslighting and launched a culture war. Because the same people, the same party, would not have done that 20 years ago,
No.
30 years ago, 40 years
Same
ago.
people
Well, you
were
know the-
watching Miss
you know the
Doubtfire,
difference-
okay? Everybody watched Miss Doubtfire, right? And never saw any sexuality in
Yeah,
that. Those
no.
same people were watching that 20,
Working
30
with
years ago.
his own children. Today, Mrs. Doubtfire would be a groomer.
Yeah.
Well,
Doubtfire would be a groomer.
the difference now is that they're targeting this directly at, because let's be frank, they targeted drag queens then too. They still targeted, like, if it is done by a gay man or if it is done by a trans woman, then it is an issue, and that's
Then it's
the
sexual.
issue. If it's
Then
a
it's
straight
sexual all
man
of a
done for
sudden.
comedic effect,
Let's
that's totally
call
cool.
Dade County Public Schools for a quote on this.
You have the number?
Do
yeah.
do we think the culture war that we're talking about, RuPaul's point that they're diversionary, that it's easier to ban a drag queen and children going to a show, that's easier than doing something about Uvalde or Pulse?
It's an absolute diversion.
It's not that it's easier.
Well-
It's that it's that they don't want to ban guns. They
Yeah.
can easily, because let's be clear, they can.
Yeah.
They don't want to. Is the difference? It's
Yeah.
not easier.
Yeah, yeah.
But they made guns the lesser issue and drag queens the forefront of the issue.
Yeah. And so it begs us, as we close this conversation, it begs us to ask, do you see any possibilities of this getting better in terms of what happens in America? Or this is the fait accompli? It's
Lord.
what's going to happen and we can't stop it, and
It's an election year.
Yeah,
it's
I'm
just
afraid
one
it's
of those
gonna-
things. Until after that, we're not going to know.
It's going to get worse.
before it
right
gets
now.
better.
Yeah.
gonna
but
get
even
worse.
let me challenge you there. The midterm elections are coming, and they're fighting for control of the House and the Senate. Odds are they're going to get control of the House, maybe the Senate, maybe not the Senate. Val Demings, pay attention to Val Demings.
Yeah.
But even after the midterms, regardless of what happens, 2024 will start 19 days later. And we're going to be 2 years of facing everything that becomes political and gaslighting to that conclusion.
And
then whatever happens next. And then whatever happens next. How do we get out of this endless cycle of this ignorance and ridiculousness of the gaslighting we're watching?
This is why it's so important for the LGBTQ plus community to go out and vote. And it's important for us to go out there and run for local elections and be part of the conversation, have conversations like this, and be at the forefront of what's happening.
Can we just agree it's politicians' fault?
Yeah.
Oh, wait.
Scott's a politician.
Trust me, yes, they need to do more than just get out and vote. They need to be running for office now. Me and you were on the same WhatsApp conversation with a group of Democratic Rainbow people, and I can't tell you how many I've reached out to personally, directly, not on the app, and said, then run. Well, now's not my time. And I'm like, that is a cop-out, because there will never be a time. You're always going to have work or kids or families.
Right.
Get out there, freaking run. I want to see people, I want to see gays running for office like ants streaming out of an ant.
So much
Scott,
fear. There's so much fear.
Just as a sidebar, now that you've got this big building named after you in South Florida, you can no longer use the word fuck. That's oh wait, no, you can't.
Honestly, I use this often. I didn't even realize I used it.
And so if this continues and continues, do we just accept and we just fight on and just go, this is it, this is what the world is?
No,
It's
that's
going to be it for a generation. It is. This is not going away. There's not going to be
A generation defined 20 years.
20 years. Yeah.
20
Wow.
years.
Yeah. There will.
What do you think about that?
No, I
You're
think
20 years old.
I
It's going to
think-
be like this until you're 40.
I think that young people are able to educate in ways that they've never been able to before, and young people are the future. They're the ones who are going to be around the longest, and it's important that we're able to also control messaging and things like that, and that's also important, and build an understanding. Like, have any of these people ever been to a drag show? Have any of them seen a drag show? Right? Or are they putting up videos of adult drag shows that don't have kids, that are at bars that are limited to, that I can't even go to because they're 21 and over, and just saying that that's what we're bringing our children to, because there's a whole, drag is such a complex, like, wide spanning, like, art form. There's so many different types of it.
And that's a crazy perspective, because in 20 years, you'll be 40. I'm 40 now. In 20 years, I'll be 60. I'll be almost as old as Al. But,
True.
what, what's going to happen over the next 20 years? And you say, like, it's generational.
It's not going anywhere. There's not going to be some rescue by some court. Look at the Supreme Court. It is locked and set for the next generation. That's not changing.
Well, and Scott's going through something right now with Miami-Dade County that he tried to have an event that was going to be emceed by a drag queen, and they told you no, right?
They told me to. They gave the edict that I cancel it. And
their answer, their reasoning?
Because they didn't find that it had any educational value.
Yeah, there's no educational value, and that's our definition, because it happened to be.
I mean, Prism's going to be at SuperCon in July 8th and 9th. We're actually going to be doing a drag panel on the history of drag and cosplay and how those communities intersect. And we're Pride Lines and Prism and other organizations, we're youth serving organizations, and showing that you can have that in a way that's age appropriate.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, we hope that is true. Our future sits in Gen Z, and we hope you save us, because Scott and Cal and I are tired. We're just tired. LGBTQ plus news is vital for our community and for the broader world as a whole. We have enough enemies at Fox News. Tucker, Sean, and Laura are loud. We need passionate allies. Happening Out Television Network, Queer News Tonight, and It's Happening Out are literally out of the closet and into the headlines. Our community needs your support. Like this broadcast and subscribe now to ensure the growth of the entire LGBT